Hey, welcome into the Stinkin Truth Podcast alongside Mike Evans. I am Mark Schlereth. Thank you so much for making us a part of your day. Make sure you download, make sure you subscribe, and do all those things that you do. Share it with your friends and family. Anyhow, hey, Mike, how you doing, buddy? Good to be with you, buddy.
I'm doing great. Right. And I wanted to ask you because so when we do our radio show that you're a part of, the first 2 hours of our radio show, you're on TV doing Breakfast Ball on FS1. And then you join us for the radio show. Yeah. But we have your show on, and you guys are talking about Justin Fields and something that Jets owner Woody Johnson said, and you guys were all laughing hysterically. Care to share?
Yeah. So Woody Johnson, in reference to Justin Fields, says, hey, listen, Justin Fields is going to be outstanding for us. He's going to be great for us. He goes, as a matter of fact, when he was coming out of the draft that year, I remember us as a franchise saying there was two guys in that draft that intrigued us. One was Justin Fields. The other was Lawrence. And we're laughing because you had the number 2 overall pick. Lawrence went number 1. Fields, I think, went 9 to Chicago, but you took Zach Wilson
at 2.
Yeah, at 2. And so, like, Woody Johnson can't help himself. Like, some of the things that come out of Woody Johnson's mouth, there is no question why the Jets are such an abject disaster year in and year out. By the way, in that particular draft, Mike, Joe Douglas was the general manager of that draft, and Joe Douglas was a former interior offensive lineman guy. Joe Douglas wanted to draft Penei Sewell, who was one of the best players in the National Football League at the tackle position. And Woody Johnson, apparently, as, people have said, right? I call it rumors, call it information, call it intel. Woody Johnson said, no, that's not who we're drafting. We're drafting Zach Wilson. So here he comes out saying that Justin Fields is going to be incredible for us. Because you know what? Everybody we get, we ruin. Sam Darnold. Look at what Sam Darnold did last year in Minnesota, right? Sam Darnold was on the trash heap. Zach Wilson on the trash heap. So, hey, Justin Fields, it was for us, it was Justin Fields or it was Trevor Lawrence. But we took Zach Wilson. Like, it's just comical. Absolutely comical.
It's funny because I a lot of times you'll hear, like, when Sean Payton took over the Broncos job and he was asked what he was looking for in a potential job, and he said how important ownership was. And sometimes I think ownership and the importance of ownership gets over-exaggerated when it comes to professional sports. But then you tell a story like that, and I realize, you know what? No, having the right ownership really does matter, doesn't it? Because if you don't, it can really screw up a franchise.
Dude, there are so many stories there are so many stories that you get, off the record confirmed about the way the organization was. As a matter of fact, the Jets, Woody Johnson got the ownership grade, when they do those player surveys, right? So they did the survey of ownership. And they didn't say, hey, what do you think of your owner, right? It wasn't like, it was like ownership in regards to the facility. And the Jets got an F for ownership in regards to the facility. Like, the Jets facility is top notch. Like, there's no question the Jets facility is great. That was a direct assault on Woody Johnson as an owner, right? That was just saying, well, there's no category for, is your owner an ass clown? Check yes or no, right? So this was the way they could say Woody is a guy that, as an owner, like, we don't respect. You're 100% right. Like, I look what's going on in Dallas right now as they're negotiating the Micah Parsons contract in public. This is why your owner hires a head coach and hires a GM, and those guys shouldn't be the same. Like, if a GM is negotiating a contract with Micah Parsons to make Micah Parsons the highest paid non-quarterback in the history of the National Football League. The GM is negotiating that deal with the agent, and nothing gets said until the deal is done. But Jerry comes out and says, listen, this is between Michael and I don't even know that agent's name. Oh, by the way, it's the agent that got the biggest contract, the biggest guaranteed money, that changed the way the league operates, because he's the guy that got Deshaun Watson in Cleveland that signed the fully guaranteed contract. This guy has changed the game. Don't tell me you don't know what his name is. Of course you know his name. Of course you got to negotiate that deal. And then, Micah Parsons has to come out and essentially, on Twitter and social media, on his podcast, whatever it is, get riled up and defend his agent who, he's like, David is the best this and like, it's incredible to me. Like, Jerry can't help himself. Like, just shut up and get the deal done, right?
Yeah.
But, you look at this and, like, there will be people who say, well, it has no bearing on the Cowboys. Really? You don't think it has a bearing? Like, on the surface, hey, he'll get his money, he'll get signed, they may push it down the road a ways, but it'll get done, and everybody will be happy, and there's no real bearing. He's going to be the highest paid guy. But there is, right? There is, because you sit in the locker room, you go, can you believe these ass clowns? Like, can you believe that this is what, if you're the best player on the football field, the best player in the franchise, and you got to defend your agent because Jerry Jones acts like he doesn't know his name? By the way, if you don't know your name, basically what you're saying is I'm incompetent. I'm completely incompetent to be the GM and the owner. This is why when head coaches fought for a while, remember it was a big trend for a head coach to also be the GM.
Yeah.
And you need that buffer between, good cop, bad cop. You need that buffer between the guy who's negotiating the contracts and telling you you're not any good, and the coach that's like, this is bullshit. Like, you're great, man. We love you. We can't live without you. Let's get this thing done, right? Because it takes the onus off of you. And then as a player, you're not sitting in the locker room going, I had to sign this deal, and the guy who's going to ask me to go run through a brick wall for him is the same guy who told me I was a piece of shit.
Right.
Like, don't tell me it doesn't matter, because it does.
So,
and it affects, like, you know what we all want? We want our players to be human until they're human. And then we want them to be robots.
Right.
And you could sit there and say, well, it shouldn't affect you. You got your money. But it does. It does, because you're human. So, this is, again, Dallas, the Jets, clown show.
Yeah. Well, let's add the Cleveland Browns to that list, because Jimmy Haslam, by the way, at some point,
James,
you
right?
got James,
Come
right?
on, Jimmy.
Jimmy Garoppolo, James,
right?
Up to Jimmy. Anyway, Jimmy Haslam said that the Deshaun Watson move goes down as a giant swing and miss. His words, swing and miss. It does, but I don't want to play revisionist history here, because I'm going to give Jimmy Haslam and the Browns some of the benefit of the doubt here, because if you go back to the time that Deshaun Watson was made available, man, it was a feeding frenzy. You remember it. I remember it here in Denver, because the Broncos were in that quarterback purgatory hole that they found themselves in for a while. And I remember sane, sober, very intellectual thinking people who were saying, give him 5 first rounds, give him 6 first rounders for Deshaun Watson. He's that sure of a thing. Oh, give him $300 million guaranteed. He's that sure of a thing. So the fact that it didn't work out, let's not pile on Cleveland too much, because there were plenty of teams and plenty of fan bases, especially, that were willing to make that leap.
I'm 100% with you. There were a ton. And listen, man, to that point, Deshaun was really good. Now he's had some injuries. He had the shoulder, the fracture in the shoulder. Now he's got the Achilles. He's out again next year. His career is over. And I guess the one thing that you would say in Cleveland is he had all the allegations and all the legal issues against him, right? And you still made that deal. But there were a long line of teams that were willing to, to basically not hold the player accountable based upon like whatever the league's going to do punishment wise we'll do, but this guy is so good that we're willing to deal with the just the reverberation throughout our community and the vitriol that we know we're going to get because if he plays well it will cure all ails. I will say this about Jimmy Haslam. This is what I respect. Maybe it took too long, but this is the one thing I respect. To admit that you made a mistake.
Yep.
Like when you are an organization, you're going to make plenty of mistakes. The worst thing you can do is continue to kick the can down the road and act like the guy is all of a sudden going to, like the hand of God's going to reach down and touch him and all of a sudden he's going to be able to play. Because ultimately what it does to the players in the locker room when you are trying to make a dude that we all know in there ain't a dude. You're trying to take this guy and make him a dude, and he's not a dude. He cannot play. Like, it's disrespectful. The other thing that we love as players, like, and I'm like, I am the poster boy for this. We love guys who are late rounders or guys who are free agents. They come in and become players. Like the first rounders, there's an expectation there. You got to be good, right? But the guys who aren't supposed to make it that are great football players, like those guys are celebrated in an NFL locker room. We love those guys. And the guys who become absolute pariahs, Mike, are the first rounders who can't play, who have a ton of talent, but don't have balls enough, don't have courage enough, don't have whatever enough to play. Those guys are the most hated guys in any locker room. If you come in and you're a big time player, you're a big time pick, you're a first rounder, and you ain't worth a squirt of piss, dude, there is nothing that bothers a locker room more than that. And then, like, for me, I'll forgive you for making the mistake because you know what? A lot of mistakes are made in this business. But I won't forgive you for hanging on to that guy for 3 years when you, me, and everybody associated with his organization knows that guy cannot play. And that drives you crazy. So, for the Cleveland Browns, you swung, you missed, you paid him a bunch of money. You probably are a year late or 2 years too late on dumping his ass. But at least you dumped him and you moved on.
Well, okay. So the next swing and miss or next swing, they're at number 2, Cleveland, and their name has been linked to Shedeur Sanders. Seems like Cam Ward is going to go as the top quarterback, probably to Tennessee. So that leaves Shedeur Sanders. And interesting debate around Shedeur. So a friend of yours, an FOS, a friend of Stink, Tim Hasselbeck from ESPN was asked about Shedeur Sanders. He said, look, I just don't see one defining trait that just stands out as being great. And then he was asked to give a comp between Shedeur Sanders and some current NFL quarterbacks. And he came up with Andy Dalton and Kirk Cousins. I mean, good, solid quarterbacks. Kirk Cousins has made $360 million as an NFL career. Yeah. You like that? I like that. He likes that. But it's kind of like the backhanded compliment if you're comparing as a comp Andy Dalton and Kirk Cousins. So, first of all, what do you make of what Tim Hasselbeck had to say? Do you agree, disagree? And if he's right, is that reason to pass on Shedeur Sanders that high up in the draft? Yeah.
So I happen to believe that Kirk Cousins will become the Cleveland quarterback.
Ooh, okay.
This is what I believe. Like, you've got to understand that Oh, Kevin Stefanski was in Minnesota when Kirk Cousins was in Minnesota. So he's got a lot of intimate knowledge of Kirk Cousins, the way he operates. It's the offense that Kirk Cousins has been in Minnesota all those years. And it's his offense, right? So it's a good fit. Then 2 years removed from the Achilles, I happen to think that Kirk Cousins will become the quarterback of the Cleveland Browns. I believe that's in the works. I believe it's going to happen. I don't have any real inside information on that. I just try to read the tea leaves, and that's where I feel like Kirk Cousins will play next year. So back to Shedeur Sanders. One of the things, and I don't have the quote in front of me, and Tim's a good friend of mine. I have a ton of respect for him. One of the things that he said was something to the effect of, there's nothing from a skill set that is elite level talent or elite level, elite level, arm talent and athleticism and all that kind of stuff. And if you're drafting a guy in the top 5 or 10 at that position, you want something to be elite. The things that are elite, Mike, are not his ability to scramble or his ability to run or his athleticism or his arm talent, which to me, none of that matters.
Right.
All that is overrated. What's elite is his accuracy. What's elite is his understanding of the game. He's been coached and he knows, and from people that I trust and respect that will tell you, man, the dude is top notch when it comes to processing what a defense is doing, pre-snap, post-snap, throwing the ball on time and getting it to his guys, right? Accurately. That's all that really matters to me. And, we went through this process last year, and people are going to forget this. People are going to totally forget this. Last year, we're sitting in Denver. And there are a lot of people that were like, hey, man, mock draft. It looks like, the Broncos will probably go after Bo Nix. And there was some pushback. Well, he doesn't have – you remember this.
Sure.
It's all short passing game. He doesn't have elite level arm talent. He's not an elite level athlete. All these things that don't mean jack. They don't. And what did we see in Denver? When you look at his numbers are every bit as good, if not better, than Jaden Daniels, who run Offensive Rookie of the Year. They are top notch.
Yep.
And we watched it every day. Arm talent, not an issue. Arm talent, man. He made that one throw. Who was that throw against? Was it Cleveland?
Cleveland.
Scrambles to the right and just throws an absolute seed down the seam at about 40 yards in the air. And this spiral is tighter than mouse nuts, and it doesn't go 12 yards off the ground. It's just wrong. It's a rocket. And you're like, he doesn't have arm talent?
Right.
And then we saw him scramble around and we go he didn't have athleticism?
Right.
But what did Sean Payton tell us? What did guys within the organization tell us? Told us, man, his ability to process information is elite. He's got elite level processor. To me, the most important thing in football is your ability to process information. It's the number 1, number 2, number 3 skill from an importance standpoint.
Yep.
If you can process the information, you can see it and instantly react to it and make plays. Man, you can be great. And I don't care how far removed we get from, my time or, right. Idiots will tell you, well, the game has passed you by. I love that one.
Yeah, you get that a lot. You get that a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. The game has passed by a guy who watches ridiculous amounts of film of today's game, who meets with 2 head coaches, 2 quarterbacks, 2 offensive play callers, 2 defensive play callers, 2 prominent defensive players, and another 12 guys on Sunday every week. Yeah, I don't know anything about the game. I have no idea what the game is.
Right.
When you say that to me, it just proves that you're a moron. You're stupid. For even saying it it's just but the game hasn't passed you by because you sat in your mom's basement and watched it. Give me a break. It's so stupid. But until throwing the ball on time from the pocket, taking what the defense gives you, falling in love with the boring in the passing game until that becomes obsolete. Until just scrambling around and throwing it all over the football field becomes what wins football games, then you will never convince me that a dude that doesn't have necessarily the athleticism but can absolutely rip you apart before the ball is even snapped, they can beat you based upon, I know what you're doing before you, like the Brady thing, the Tom Brady. I know the answers to the test. Why would I retire?
Right.
Like those guys that do it. Jared Goff ain't outrunning anybody. Jared Goff there's nothing elite about Jared Goff's talent in any way except from the neck up. And if Shedeur has that and accuracy, that's elite. But that comes from, to me, accuracy comes from being on time. And being on time comes from, I know the answers to the test because I'm smarter than you.
Well, Brock Purdy maybe fits that category we're talking about. You know, nothing that jumps off the page, but he's been effective enough that, you know, he's been in MVP conversations and the 49ers are getting prepared to spend a lot of money on a new contract, so much so that Jed York, their owner, came out and said that, hey, listen, part of the reason why you're seeing the, quote, exodus of players from San Francisco is because we got to be able to pay our quarterback. And so for 49er fans who, you know, Dre Greenlaw leaves, Talanoa Hufanga leaves, you know, this is a byproduct, apparently, of having to pay your quarterback now franchise quarterback money.
Yeah, that's bullshit.
You don't buy it?
No. I mean, listen, I love Jed York. Jed is a nice guy, but it is not Brock Purdy's responsibility to manage the 49ers cap. It's right. The 49ers' responsibility to manage that, right? And like I said, man, I'm a big Brock Purdy fan. Jed York has always been really kind to me, so I appreciate him. But this is the plan. So you talked about all these guys, this mass exodus. Here's what happened. They had a bunch of injuries last year, Mike. Okay? And they had guys that replaced those injured guys, right? And they came to the realization, you know what? The guys that replaced the injured guys are young, they're inexpensive, and oh, by the way, they're really good.
Right.
Like these guys got a chance to be great. Mustafa at the safety position, unbelievable, Mike. Diamonor Lenore played really well. Yep. Brown at the cornerback position played really well. And remember, Travarius Ward missed time. Hufanga missed time. Dre Greenlaw missed a lot of time, right? Hargrave wasn't healthy all year. A couple offensive linemen that were okay. Like, this is the plan. Like, you come in there and you're like, man, the last 5 weeks of the season, Ricky Pearsall was awesome.
Yep.
He was awesome. Oh, my gosh. By the way, Jawan Jennings, that dude's a trained killer. You telling me he couldn't do what we had Debo do? Debo hasn't been Debo since 2021 or whatever it is. So a lot of this is planned. A lot of this is just great management by the 49ers. There's only one guy in this whole thing that they really, really didn't want to lose, and that's Dre Greenlaw.
Yeah.
To the point where they got on a plane, they being Kyle Shanahan and they being John Lynch, and flew to Texas to meet face-to-face with Dre Greenlaw when he had agreed, like he's going to Denver, to try to talk him out of it, to try to match that offer, to try to keep him in San Francisco as a San Francisco 49er. Like, this is standard operating procedure. And so 49er fan, don't fall for the hype. The 49ers are going to be just fine. Kyle's a damn good coach, and they still have a ton of really good players. And Brock Purdy is a really good quarterback. They're going to pay him, and a lot of these choices are their choices, Mike. I don't get my panties in a wad over oh my gosh, we lost some players that really didn't play very much last year. What are we going to do? Because I got to watch, I did one of their last games of the season. I got to watch 3 or 4 games of Ricky Pearsall and was like, well, blown away. I got to watch Juwan Jennings. As a matter of fact, so much so that before the game, I was out on the field. Juwan Jennings is warming up. He runs by me and go, hey, can I, Juwan? He takes his earphone out and introduced myself to him. And I just told him, dude, don't change. Now he got thrown out of that game for beating the snot out of somebody. But I was like, dude, what you're doing is so freaking fun to watch. And the way you compete and don't ever change. Because it was for me watching that on film, I was like, this is awesome. I love this. And people say, well, you're biased. Yeah, you're damn right. I'm biased to really good players. I like watching them play. I love watching really good players who care, who will do the things that other players won't do, who will mix it up, who will throw fists, who will do whatever it takes to get their team a win. Now he's got to tone it down occasionally,
right,
because he'll get himself into trouble. But I love that kid. Do you know that he came into Tennessee as a quarterback?
Juwan Jennings.
Yeah, he was a quarterback in the same quarterback room as the astronaut guy. What is it?
Josh Dobbs.
Yeah, Josh Dobbs.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were at Tennessee together as quarterbacks. I don't know why that popped into my head. They just did, but
all that preparation you put into games, those little nuggets that come to mind.
I can't remember anybody's name, but yeah,
right.
I'll get a nugget or two.
So very quickly, we'll leave on this. Brock Purdy's going to get paid. Should he get paid? Is this a situation where the 49ers are getting ready to spend smart money, big smart money, or is this got more of a feel of we don't really have another avenue to turn to, and the devil is the better than the one you don't? Is there any element of that to what we're seeing?
Brock Purdy is a top-notch player, a top-notch quarterback in this league. Brock Purdy, the only knock on Brock Purdy, he's had some injury issues. Brock Purdy is smart. He processes. He's accurate. Brock Purdy is a big-time player. And I just don't think you fail paying big-time players. Now, it's your job to manage it as an organization, right? And you keep every other year, every 2 years, you come back and you renegotiate the deal and you give the guy a bunch of money and you figure it out. But no, Brock Purdy's a big time player. Brock Purdy is a top-notch quarterback in the National Football League. So no, I don't have any trepidation at all about the San Francisco 49ers paying Brock Purdy. And Jed York, their owner, says, oh, you got to manipulate and, you're going to lose some players because of that. Listen, most of these guys they lost, that's planned. They're like, how you get, how you make those decisions is when young guys get a chance to play and you're like, damn, this guy is just as good as the guy we had ahead of him and he's 4 years younger and is a lot less expensive. Yeah, let's make that move. There are a lot of these things that became the plan because of the way the young kids played. I understand they still, they only won 6 games or whatever, but I'm just telling you, the 49ers, based on the film study I did at the end of last season, 49ers are going to be fine.
All right. Because, there seems to be a sense that they might be in trouble, but you're saying right here that the reports of the 49ers demise greatly exaggerate. I'm sure 49er fan
they're going to be they're going to be battling with the Rams for that division crown.
Okay. All right. Sounds good.
All right, man. For everybody involved in the Stinkin Truth podcast, we thank you so much for making us a part of your day. For Mike, I am Mark. We'll talk to you guys later on in the week.